know that we know the word. And we are going live now. And I'm just going to wait on Mr. Larry.
Part 2.
Right. I hate Facebook. Like, I literally hate Facebook. When I went live yesterday, the same thing happened where my live just shut off for no reason.
Because you're just so high vibrational.
Is it? Is that what it is, Khozmiq? I'm just high. My apologies. I think Kaya was married in her demonic chamber and sent a wave of bad energy over here. Like, literally, my live just shut the freak off. Butter up a tongue. Yeah, it just shut off. So I guess I'll let everybody just swarm back in when they want to. Khozmiq, I don't even know what your next thought was, but go into what your next thought was. Oh, your investment in hell and what that means to you, because you are no longer a apostolic. Well, I'll let you tell it.
Well, yeah, tell that. I want to hear that.
There was a point I was. I know what I was going to say, to the idea about why humans have such an investment in hell. And just to piggyback off your point, I think the greater conversation is, like you said, it's almost what Jesus said. Jesus said that if you, being evil, give good gifts to your children, how much more your Father in heaven. So therefore, we can extrapolate from that concept that if we, being quote-unquote evil or sinful people, have a judicial system, all right, and we punish wrongdoing, how much more a just God are we to say that human beings are more just than God is? And I think that's why the interest in hell is a topic to be discussed and conversed over. Now, to my own personal investment in the matter, I have none. I've already reconciled hell in my own cosmology, in my own theology, in my own philosophy about God. Because if we're just going to jump right into it, my findings through my study, and I've done some deep study, both homiletically, hermeneutically, I've learned the Greek, the Latin, the Hebrew, and I found something very interesting about hell that's very often overlooked. Whenever hell is talked about, particularly in the New Testament, what I'm referencing now, and it's spoken about being eternal, okay, I can agree and be congruent with Scripture that hell is eternal, but a person's stay there may not be.
Ow! In my William McCray voice. Go ahead.
So the internality and the infinity that is talked about or related to hell speaks about the place that will burn forever. All right, there is an eternal place. But just like a house may be there 50 years, that don't mean I'm gonna live in there for 50 years.
So can I go into a little segue with that while we're there? Yeah. Because once again, I'm having this conversation for Christians, not for those of us who ain't invested in Christianity and don't identify with Christianity, but I'm trying to stimulate their dumb asses about some things within Scripture.
Wait a minute.
Larry, don't even get me to say it again. They heard exactly what the hell I said. Can we, so with what you just said, hell is eternal, but our state is not.
Right.
Does that follow Jesus descending into hell after his crucifixion, preaching, spreading the gospel, conquering death, taking the keys of hell, and then leading those people out of captivity? Like, what does that mean in terms of what you're saying? Because that seemed like it could be congruent.
Well, absolutely. Because I think that we're circling around the right stuff, right? Just coming to maybe less, how do I want to say, circling around the right stuff, but kind of slightly missing the mark here. Like you just said, up until Jesus, what Jesus did had a universal effect in all dimensions. It affected the upper world in the heavens. It affected the earth realm here, and it also affected below in the hellish realm, in the underworld. So that being said, I believe that there was a lock on hell, okay? And that no matter who you were, whatever the case may be, where you were Abraham in his bosom or whoever you might have been, that's where you went. You went to the underworld. But Jesus of Nazareth had to come as a man and descend. Paul said that he that had descended had first descended, then ascended he descended, and then it said very clearly that he took the keys of death and hell and the grave. So I believe that hell had to be unlocked from the inside out. And that's what Jesus did. He went down into hell, preached to them, and then unlocked hell so that there's not an eternality. We're not locked into hell.
I got a question because of something that you said.
What's the question, Larry? Because you over there with your badass
posture. But let me tell you what it is. Because see, I'm going to tell you,
all your badass body. What's the question, Larry?
I just don't like, and I know you're comedic, and I am too, and we say stuff. But I don't want nobody to think that because you are a Christian, then you are not evolved, then you're not enlightened. Which is and I don't want to say that. Because my roots are Christian, and if there's any religion that I'm going to connect myself to, it's going to be named as a Christian. So I don't want nobody listening to us to think because you are a Christian or because you still go to church, that means that you're not enlightened or that you're not informed, you're not connected to God.
Well, that's exactly why I'm trying to have a conversation for Christians, because this is to support exactly what you're saying. Because people like don't need this conversation, and people like Khozmiq don't need it, and people like me don't need it. But we're having it for the people who are stuck in religious options, who are who do have these very surface elementary.
He that can receive it, let him receive it.
Anybody who can receive it, let them receive it. So this conversation is for the Christian, because I think that there's lots of things when it comes to biblical and church matters that we don't talk about on a broader level. The fact that astrology and astronomy is from Old Testament to New Testament, and yet the church will demonize astrology. The fact that there are other innuendos about androgyny and same-sex marriage that the church over fucking looks. The fact that we're here talking about salvation, and the fact that hell can be eternal, but what Christ did on that cross covered, as Khozmiq said, all dominions, all spaces for all consciousnesses, and that those who go to hell ultimately are condemning themselves, which for me makes a lot of sense.
I want to say something about that hell thing, because this is something that I said a long time ago that may sort of go align with what Khozmiq said, is that I had got this, for those who don't know, I have this service called lifeguideforyou.com, and I basically give readings. I peer into the spirit world, and I try to give people direction about their life. Well, every once in a while, because if you want to make it something mainstream, it sort of is like psychic reading, but clearly, I come out of Christianity, so it's like prophesying. But the thing is, sometimes every once in a while, I'm able to, and I know this sounds strange, it may sound strange to some people, I'm able to connect with somebody that has crossed over. And what I noticed, and this is from talking with somebody during a reading, and I'm telling them the message, relaying them the message that I'm getting from the other side, from this person, and what they say, how the person was on this side. It appears to me, and from what I've seen from those that, I remember my Aunt Catherine Uzzell, before I knew that she had died, when she died, she came where I was. And that's how I got notified that she had died. And the state that I saw her in and how she moved, and I could look through her body and see this, and I could peer into her physical body that was laying wherever it was laying and how it would decay, but I could look at her and her spiritual organs, how they were so intact. And so I would have to somewhat co-sign with what Khozmiq is saying, that I believe that we are passing through this experience. And in this experience that we learn the lessons, a lot of times for some of us, depending on how open we are, we don't always learn the lessons that we need to learn. But somehow or another, when we get on the other side, there's a clarity. There's a openness, and there's a sight that we begin to operate in that we, a lot of times, it's hard for certain ones of us to tap that in our body. And so, and I even think about the times I've went outside of my body through astral projection. Some of the greatest revelations concerning the Bible and concerning Jesus will happen when I was asleep, or a dream, or a vision, or when I was disconnected from my body. There is something about us being in our first state, which is a spirit body. So there's a clarity there. So I would have to co-sign that if you want to believe in hell, and you can, If you can, if it works for you, let it work for you. You know, but if you believe in hell, I would say consider that once you cross over and maybe you find yourself in hell, that there's a moment for clarity and you begin to see some things and you possibly could, quote unquote, you know, not stay there or graduate or ascend.
Got it. And you actually spoke into something I also was going to make a part of this conversation. You spoke about astral projection. I'm an astral projector. I travel outside of my body. I separate my consciousness and go into things that are considered the mysteries of the kingdom. What's interesting to me about also this idea of hell is that current science is really looking and taking seriously the notion of near-death experiences. And so we have had people who have been clinically dead on surgery tables, who have been in very controlled medical environments where we know they're dead, and yet have came back with a cognition and a perception about what was taking place in a room, what took place in other parts of the hospital, the conversations and the things that they saw surrounding the injury or the crime scene itself. And not only do we have people reporting, going off into the light, seeing dead relatives, having wonderful experiences, but we also have those people that also go into that dark place. That dark place that seems to really make a lot of people unfucking comfortable. Now, as a truth seeker, I try to be so unbiased in my search for truth. I try not to be one of those people that make something true just because I'm afraid. Just because the opposite scares me. So even though I don't like what hell means and I don't like what I believe hell is, if this is also a part of what's being testified to, especially by people who are traveling into these spaces, I have to consider what is the fucking reality of fucking hell. I have to consider that. So Khozmiq, as it relates to what we were saying earlier about, and I'm kind of going to move out of the Bible after this, but Jesus and hell, conquering hell, you are saying that also fits within this idea that hell is eternal, but your residency there, your stay there is not, right?
Well, I think that's one of the things that kind of led me to this thing. Obviously, there is a heavy biblical precedent for hell, a heavy New Testament precedent for hell, and one that Jesus lays out. So on a biblical side, I had very little wiggle room out of that. But what fortified the fact that I just can't throw hell out, so to speak, is because, like you said, not only do we have biblical evidence, but there's also people having experiences. Okay, I mean, thousands of people have recorded having hellish experiences out of their body or near death that have been recorded, documented, like you say, even in clinical studies. So even if we say, you know, I'm not a Christian, since that was the issue that Larry would talk about, or, you know, I'm not a Bible thumper, whatever, there is evidence that people are having experiences in hell. Now, I'm able to rationalize that because I think that one of the first references to hell is about a furnace, right, of God's wrath, right? And that we know that it talks about coming through as pure gold through refining fire. I believe that hell is not just what's what I'm looking for? It is redemptive, right? Even God's anger, hell is redemptive because it's a purging. I believe.
I can get with that because we're talking about, because that's what I said earlier in the first.
You're making Larry Reid happy.
Yeah, I can't just get with a whole lot of this a whole lot of different stuff. But when you talk about hell being remedial, this is why I said if you want to believe in it and it work for you, fine. You know, I can believe and I can adapt, and what I know about God.
But also, sense. Larry, as a teacher, you want to be informed about these things as a spiritual teacher, and as me and Khozmiq have said, if there are people having experiences and are reporting this beyond the grave and coming back, I think that we all as teachers have a responsibility to evaluate and to scrutinize these things, to remove and to remove our own biases and really deal with the facts so that we can properly inform people about hell, because hell is not just a Christian narrative. Like, the pagans have their own ideas about hell, and hell is not eternal to them as well. Hell is redemptive in a lot of other religious practices. And so in that regard, that makes me so less uncomfortable about hell, because hell is, you can access hell, and you can also be redeemed and remove yourself from this state of consciousness that's represented.
But at the same time, we have to also consider that when you're talking about the spirit world and how somebody perceives the spirit world and your lens in the spirit world, it doesn't surprise me that somebody sees a furnace and goes to hell, because if that's in them, if that's what they thought, if it got in there, it's not just that, though. Like, we have whole atheists who have no belief system, who have died and had near-death experiences and have went. But see, I know they have that, but
testimony.
But we have to consider. We still have to consider messaging in the system, how it gets into us. Because like I said, I adapted some stuff I didn't believe. When I had an experience and went down into hell, I went to a very cool, orderly place, and it was deep into the middle of the earth. I did not go to that place that was preached to me and that they told me.
But guess what's also cool and deep within the middle of the earth? Abraham. Within the earth,
the angel that was traveling, that was traveling with me said, "This is hell." So we can't just take somebody's private interpretation, somebody's private experience, and say that validate. That ain't no bad way to validate.
But we have to take yours.
But we
have to take yours. Like,
don't take mine. No, I said consider. You should consider it, but you don't have to validate.
But that's all that I'm saying is that we need to consider these things.
Yeah, I consider it, but I ain't gonna take it as truth.
We're just being curious about things that are outside of our own practices and beliefs, and I think that is.
I think that's okay. I think that's really good, actually.
Oh, okay.
I do think it's good.
Awesome.
Y'all are what I was gonna say is, I think that's one of the things that caused me to.
And we only got 10 minutes left because you all have to go in 10 minutes.
No, by you all, he talking about me.
Okay. Well, I decided to go ahead and end the whole show. Like, once you leave, I mean, we did this as a trio, so.
I'm good until about 9. I got a client at 9:30.
Mine's 8:30.
But 9:15. But this is one of the things that kind of caused me to contradict with Carlton, is that if you're saying that God spoke to you and said there is no hell, right, and that is your doctrine, that is, and so because you're saying it's a theological doctrine, it's applicable to all people. It's one of the things about a theological doctrine. So if you're saying that there is no hell and that God spoke that to you, then how do you juxtapose that with people who had an experience in hell and God spoke to them? In that their conversation with God validated hell. Like you said, whether they were atheists, whether they were Buddhists, I know some people who were, they just knew they were to heaven, and then they have a near-death experience, and like Jesus said, lifting up their eyes, okay, in torment. Now, for me,
you are bringing out the William McCrae and Larry.
First of all, there is no William McCrae in the inside
when
me.
I tell you, I think that some of your mediumship abilities is wide open now on the subconscious level, and that McCrae is just thriving.
No, I ain't wearing no wig. I'm not looking like no McCrae. My thing is this. You can't put
your spirit got a wig on, and your spirit.
You can't put no validate when it comes to somebody. I'm not saying Khozmiq did this, but I'm just saying you can't put the word validate when you talk about somebody's experience outside of their body, because you're dealing with their spirit world lens. You can't. You can say it's validated as far as that's what they experience. But you can't smear it on being a validation across the board because somebody had that experience. No, like somebody that's in here just got finished saying, wow, I astral project, I travel, I never went to a furnace, I never saw hell as that. I'm saying the same thing never happened to me. I said the reason why, because you never believed that.
But what I'm saying is that those same people who are saying they never seen a hell are also using their experience to do a broad stroke.
Nobody should.
Who have projected.
We shouldn't do that.
Had near-death experience. who have experienced those things. Yes, it is, because you are here just
no.
shaking your head.
But I'm saying no. But see, that's exactly what I'm saying. We shouldn't broad stroke. That's exactly what I'm saying. We shouldn't broad stroke either way. We just should consider it for as the person experience, and that's what it is, and respect that, just like we do somebody's belief of their religion. I think that's what we should do.
Well, all I'm saying is that if
okay, and Tammy Wells is saying, let Khozmiq finish. You keep cutting them off. Reid.
Ow!
What I'm saying is, if we have two individuals and they both have an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience, okay, and one experiences hell and the other does not, that is not to say that there is no hell.
Right.
Because you did not experience it. And what I'm saying is that there is space and there is place in a very metaphysical and a very supernatural and a very paranormal universe for a place like hell that can be reconciled with other spiritual truths that we have. For example, am I saying that you're going to be damned to hell for all eternity? Absolutely not. Am I saying that if you are in hell, that you are locked in there by the hand of God? Absolutely not. I'm saying that hell is redemptive because it is a refiner's fire. I believe that if you are dense enough, like anything in creation, the dense things sink and the more rarefied things, they float, they rise, okay? So if you have a density about your soul, then you're going to descend. And that's why it's also said that hell is bottomless. There are different levels of density to that region, to that realm. So wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, you will lift your eyes up and it's going to burn. Why? Because there is impurity in you. It is the love of the Father to purge you through hell that you might ascend to meet him.
I think I'm having spiritual orgasms. Just that was just so poetically just deliver. Like I'm gonna have to, somebody give me the collection plate. I'm gonna need to throw a few coins.
I agree.
Wow.
I agree. I should have just let him finish his point because that's exactly what I was saying.
That's why it's good to listen.
Nigga, I listen.
Larry.
I can't hardly hear him. You got him nigga Reid.
Oh, now it's my fault you ain't listening because you can hardly hear. Got it. I lost my damn train of thought. Oh yeah, okay. So I was gonna say this. I was gonna say, to speak to the point that I don't understand what this radicalism is about. It's like we always have to we can only have one or the other. There can be hell and there can be heaven. Just like I've never stepped a foot on Africa. I'm sure Africa actually fucking exists. There's lots of evidence to support that. I've never seen certain parts of the ocean. I've never been to certain parts of the world. I've never been to certain reaches within space. Doesn't mean these things don't fucking exist. It just means it hasn't been my experience. Now, as somebody who wants to understand experience and reality as a whole and not just my little slice of fucking pie, I would like to consider what everyone is experiencing because all things are true. They just have to be discussed. We have to rationalize these things. We have to wrestle with these things and figure out how do they fit and how they can come together congruent. So I love just entertaining all of these things in a way where because I feel like truth is right in the middle. Whenever somebody is way to the left or way to the right, I'm like, I'm going to need the middle. I need the middle because I found that truth, in my experience, has always been right in the fucking middle. It's right been in the middle. Not to the extreme left and not to the extreme right, but just dead smack in the fucking middle. Now, we have Dawn to pound our fucking time. Larry has a client to attend. Khozmiq has a client to attend. In 30 minutes, this was a interesting conversation about hell. I kind of wanted to get more into inclusion as well. Are we going to revisit this again?
I say that we should, but we should do it on my show.
Why?
Because I said so. Nigga, that's why.
You just want me to interact with your coat, with your damn coat following, so that they can have
No.
No.
They are not like that. But this is what I do want to say, though. I do want to say this. I like this kind of conversation and having this kind of conversation because I feel exactly the same way as you do, Davion, is that I don't know how come we just can't all coexist whatever you believe. And I do believe, like you said about, the truth, if nobody believes it, it is. And so a lot of times I judge everything according to that. Like, if I did not believe in this, I did not believe in this, what will be left? And the truth doesn't have to be believed in order for it to stand and still rule in our life. So that's really
Absolutely.
what we should be aligning, whatever our theological or doctrinal or religious belief. We need to really get it to the truth. And so that is why I like having these kind of conversations. That's why I'm so open, even, and no, I'm not just soft towards Christians because I come out of the Christian church and all that, because if in religion I would name, I would say Christian. And no, there are a lot of other religions that I really like and I really enjoy studying, like Buddhism. Also like, what's that one that Iyanla is part of, Iyanla Banzan? I like studying them. I study, I have degrees.
The Yoruba.
Yeah. So,
Ifa.
but hey, I just see God in Jesus, and to me, Jesus is God. So that's how it is for me. But I enjoy this. This is a great idea to pull all of us together, Davion.
Well, some of your fans are saying they definitely welcome me on.
See, I'm trying to tell you.
When can we expect a part 2 of the conversation?
We actually can do anytime we want to. My regular show is on Mondays, but we can do it like another day, if not on a regular show day. Or unless we can.
It's up to you. I'm down.
Well, you can.
Whatever.
Yeah, we'll get it done. We'll get it done within the next week, because I don't think this conversation is going to die anytime soon.
No, there's a lot to unpack about religion and spirituality versus each other, and where the common ground can be, and just helping to facilitate conversations that make this thing better for all of us and make it more fulfilling and knowledgeable and inform us, because I think it all fucking fits. I just think that we are just we have such egos, and we just hate having to really open ourselves up. We're not open to new information a lot of times on both sides, as spiritual people and as religious people. So I just want to actually entertain.
Somebody said, no, Jesus is not real, Larry, and I can prove it. But see, this is that, and I love August. He's an atheist that follows the show. We get along. But this is the thing. I would never tell somebody that. I mean, you believe what you believe. I wouldn't say nobody, well, hell don't exist, But when I first started going through the revelation, began to come into my mind, I began to work through some thoughts. I did say a whole lot of things that I wish I could take back, and I bet Kanye feel the same way. When you just coming into new consciousness, you don't need to be having no interview and stuff, because you be just scared and stuff. But anyway, and so I would never tell nobody that. Believe whatever you believe. I believe Jesus is God. What's wrong with me believing that? If I'm not bringing no harm to you, if I'm not judging you for what you believe, you ain't got to prove to me that what I believe is wrong, because then that makes you right. Yeah. How come we just...
You know what I always say when people say stuff like that? When they say things like Jesus not real, what have you, I'm always curious, what was the last supernatural experience you had, sir, ma'am?
And I want to add to that. If Jesus raised your great greasy-faced ass grandmother from the grave, you better carry on in your belief.
Because it's working for you.
If Jesus
it's
working for you. Jesus is real for you. And if you see evidence, let it may. Now, is this a good place to end?
Okay.
All right. So, Larry,
I really appreciate it.
Hold on, Khozmiq. Larry, your final words. Let people know who don't already know where to find you, where the hell to find you.
First of all, you win the award for the most creative cussing I've ever heard in my whole life. And so,
I get it from my mama. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me on your platform, and hello to all of your crowd and your YouTubers that will watch this. Go over there and subscribe to my mess. Okay, you can find me. Just go to IamLarryDReid.com. You go there, you can connect with everything that I do. And everywhere online, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I am Larry D. Reid. Now, of course, watch my show, Larry Reid Live, every Monday at 7 o'clock. You can call in. You are my co-host, so if you don't come watch, ain't nobody co-hosting with me.
Absolutely. You guys heard it first. And Khozmiq, tell the people where they can find you.
So you can go to Dr. Newage, Doktornewage. I am a 21st century root doctor and shaman of the African diasporic traditions. You can also find me on YouTube as The Conjure Chronicles and follow a lot of my works there. Over the Day of the Prophet in the Apostolic Church, and I'm also a modern day mystic as well. So,
you a pastor? You a pastor?
Are you a
No, now the Day of the Prophet, not the pastor. I never had my own church.
He's an ordained prophet. He's higher than a pastor.
No. Prophet still got to submit to local pastors. I don't believe in that.
Now that I don't believe. That I don't believe that.
Yeah, we'll get into that into part 2 as well. But good night, you guys. Thank you guys for being here with us. Definitely follow me on YouTube at Conscious TV, and that's Conscious with a Z. And all of Larry's followers, harass him about this show because I know how Larry
we are going to do the show. Don't you try to call me out. Don't you do me like that. No, we're going to have the show on my... In fact, the way it's going to set up, you're going to come up in that square that come up beside me. And what's the name? Khozmiq. You can call in. I put your picture up. Look real nice. We'll just have the conversation. It'll be good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, thank you guys. And I'll hit you later.
All right.
Larry and Khozmiq. Night.